Whoa, I was complicit. My bookish people gather round because the tea is boiling. And this time it's piping hot straight from the server rooms of Silicon Valley. Okay? You thought the dystopia was only in fiction? Nah. Meta said, let's make it real, okay? So, first and foremost, a little bit of an introduction. This your girl, Shelly. We love books here. We love commentary and just everything to do in the bookish world. I've been away, but I came back, but I haven't been able to maintain eye contact because of my eye surgery that I am still recovering from. So yeah, do not do not be too harsh with me because like I'm not looking at you. I really am going to try my best, but I will definitely be looking down as much as possible to like not stress myself out and make my eyes any worse than they are. Yeah, so do please forgive me. Like I hope it'll get better really, really soon. But let's get into it, okay? Here's the deal. An ex-Meta exec, Sarah Wynne Williams, she wrote a book called Careless People. And it's basically a scathing inside look at the company, Meta, and all the ethical gymnastics happening behind closed doors. Except now, Sis can't even promote her own book because Meta has legally bound her into silence. And what does that sound like? Rhymes with corruption? You know, to me anyway. So let's unpack this whole mess. The censorship, the manipulation, and what it says about the actual state of truth and publishing when big tech starts flexing its legal wallet. Now, I know that this story definitely broke out a while back. But like I said, I was on break, then I had surgery, so wasn't able to make videos, wasn't able to properly research much. Still haven't been able to properly research, but I've done my best. And I still think it's important to speak on this because I haven't really seen too many people speak on this anyway. So someone's got to do it, and we're going to talk real because you know that's how we do it here. Okay. So let's start at the beginning, okay? Sarah Wynne Williams used to be Meta's head of global public policy. You know, the people who are supposed to keep the company ethically in check, yeah? And if Careless People is anything to go by, she was deeply involved in seeing the exact ways that wasn't happening. Now, actually, before I go forward, I do want to actually note that I have not read the book yet. I am going to read it because honestly it sounds interesting. So most of the information is from like research and quotes from online sources. So information that is obviously widely available from people who have read and such and such. Regardless, like I said, the information is out there for those who want to look deeper. But I will be reading the book. I'm going to get my hands on it and read it because honestly, I have to know. But yeah, she reportedly witness Meta prioritizing profits over people, suppressing internal research about social harm, and actively working against democratic accountability. Honestly. It's giving Facebook knew Instagram was bad for teens, but ran with it anyway, okay? It's giving we're aware our algorithms are broken, but let's blame the users instead of taking accountability, okay? Now, Meta allegedly made her sign something that prevents her from doing press, interviews, or anything that would bring attention to the book. So they didn't sue her to stop publication, but they did enough to gag her after the fact. And I think obviously that's probably why not too many people, I haven't seen too many people like covering this topic or her book, probably because they haven't heard about it. Okay, so what we're looking at is strategic silence. And from a business perspective, this is probably one of the smartest moves they could have done, you know? It's not a full ban. Oh no, that would be too obvious, too loud, and it would definitely get more attention on it. They went for the quiet kill, you know? A reputation cleanse, yeah? What makes this even more disturbing is that the book is out. You can literally buy it, but without the author able to speak, promote, or defend her work, Honestly, guys, it dies on the line. It's dead, if we're being honest. And that's the play for Meta. Because we don't need to burn books anymore, even though people are still trying and some are actively still doing it. Ugh. We just need to make them invisible, which is why I've spoken so much about, visibility. And obviously, when it comes to marginalized authors who don't get the recognition they deserve, people are just like, oh, if the book is good, people will find it. That's not how it works, baby. No, visibility is important in this world. Let's stop pretending like it's not, When a book becomes invisible, that's the modern censorship. That's the modern version of censorship. That's how publishing and power intersect now. Don't ban it, don't burn the book. Just bury it so that no one will ever read it anyway. And I want us to clock something here very quickly. This happened with Careless People, even though it was published by a major publishing house. Like, Careless People was published by HarperCollins, literally one of the big 5 traditional publishing houses. Do you hear that? Do you see how insane that is? Like, this wasn't some self-published book in a Reddit thread. And still, corporate power found a way to silence the narrative. That tells you everything about where we are. Now, imagine how many stories like this never even make it to publication. Like, literally deep it. They will not make it even across the finish line of publication because of fear, because of NDAs, because of, let's be honest, money. We talk about censorship in schools and libraries, rightly so, obviously. But we also need to talk about the way wealth is used to kill stories before they have a chance to survive, before they have a chance to live. Like, they don't even make it. We really have to sit with it for a minute, Sarah Wynne Williams, she tried to warn us about what Meta was doing. That's what whistleblowers do, because by technicality, she will be considered or is considered a whistleblower. And that's what they do. They put their own comfort, money, and security on the line to expose the truth for our sake, for the betterment of the people. And yet, here we are, We can compare this to Frances Haugen, another ex-Facebook employee who released internal docs and testified to Congress in America. Except in this situation, Sarah tried to go the traditional route, write a book, tell a story, and, somehow it ended up being less safe. Because you would think, going, the Congress route, because by that way you're doing it in law, you're doing it in court, you're bringing the law into it. That seems more dangerous, because I would think that they would fear, lawmakers getting involved. But no, we went with publishing and still we were not safe. I say we because obviously she was doing this for the people and I am the people. But yeah, the gag order, it also has like chilling implications for others in tech who want to come forward ever. Because if you see someone with a major publisher get silenced like this, what message does that send to everyone else who probably have even more to say? Like, there's no point. Like, don't even bother. Like, your story doesn't matter. That's literally what it's saying. And of course, Meta didn't even have to refute what she said. They didn't deny it. They didn't engage publicly. They just said, you won't speak. Okay? Yeah. You will not speak. And she can't, which in some ways is its own admission that you guys went so far to stop her from speaking. You literally said, okay, we don't really like what you're saying, because if anything in the book was defamatory, they could have sued her for that or gone down that route. But no, they just said, you're just going to have to stay quiet. And to me, that's an admission. I'm so sorry. To me, if I'm reading between the lines. And as someone who reads regularly, I've learned to do that quite well. And I think what also makes this more uncomfortable is the fact that this isn't just a meta problem. It's a tech industry problem, just a corporate problem on a whole, a power problem, so to speak. Because if Meta can essentially blackball a former exec's memoir without banning the book outright, it sets a dangerous precedent. What's to stop Apple, Google, Amazon from doing the same thing? Because I'm sure there are people who have things to say. Let's not forget the whole scandal with Theranos. I read the book about Theranos, Bad Blood, and I obviously read how far the CEO and everyone involved, how far they went to keep things quiet. Obviously, they failed. We thank God. But they were a new company, a fresh company. And yeah, she was building and, the company became worth billions, but obviously the company was worth nothing because the product didn't actually work. With companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, these are companies that have decades in the game and they actually do have products that work and they have stakes everywhere. Theranos was new. They didn't have stakes like Apple, like Google, like Amazon. They didn't have stakes in governments all over the world like Amazon. No. So Theranos got caught out. And even then, people were afraid to come out. Even then, people were getting blacklisted. Even then, people were being alienated. People were being blackballed, weren't able to work in the industry. Even then. And so now with companies like Google and Amazon and Apple and Meta, if they were to, well, Meta has already done it, but if the other companies were to go down the line, then come on. What's to stop a billionaire from tying up someone in enough litigation threats to prevent their story from being told? In this case, you know what? At least the story got told. We just don't know about it. But again, some people might not even get that far. We already live in a world where publishing is tilted toward the privileged. Think about who gets big book deals. We spoke about this before with the Australian rugby/bachelor who appeared on Book Talk and then got a book deal in like a month. Luke Bateman. We spoke about him. And it wasn't the first time this has happened, These are the people who get big book deals, who get media tours, these are the people who have the freedom to speak truth, And when you think about that, add now whose former employer won't sue them into silence to that list. Truly, it's giving Hunger Games with lawyers. Okay, it's giving Divergent, but make it defamation threats, And honestly, it's getting scary if this is a society that we are in. And I think getting scary. It's scary. It's scary. Okay. Now, let's talk about Careless People itself. Okay, it's framed as a memoir, yes, but for the people who have read it, it reads more like an ethical post-mortem, It's not just, here's my story at Meta. It's, here's how our institutions are fundamentally failing to care, okay? The title itself is a callback to The Great Gatsby, calling out the careless people of the modern world, Powerful figures who act without thinking about the cost to the people around them, about the cost to their livelihoods, about the cost to, society itself. From what I've researched and seen, she talks about being complicit, about waking up slowly to how her job, her role, her decisions contributed to harm. And honestly, this is why, it's one of the reasons I want to read the book. Not just to actually, find out what Meta was doing, but it's also because that realization that she speaks about, it's rare. We don't often get to see that in real time. And I appreciate someone who can come out and say, whoa, I was complicit, but I've realized that, I've stepped away from that, and I'm owning up to the truth of that, and I'm letting you guys know. I want to read a book by someone who can say that. But yeah, as I was looking into the book, when she talks about trying to fix things from the inside, yeah, honestly, I really want to get into that book and get into that part of the book, because We've heard that before, haven't we? You know, we have, and we haven't really seen it. Unfortunately. But the thing is, she also names the moment she realized it was impossible, that trying to reform systems built on greed and manipulation is like trying to fix a sinking ship with duct tape. Okay? I just from like excerpts and hearing about the book, you can tell that it's going to be vulnerable, it's going to be angry, but it's definitely necessary. And the fact that she can't talk about it, she can't promote it, she can't go on tours, it makes it even more urgent that we do read this book, that we talk about this book. If she can do it, we have to do it for her. So obviously this video that I'm making it obviously without having read the book yet, but let's just consider it a precursor to like my actual full review when I actually like get to reading it. But I implore people to go and pick it up, especially because we know what's been done. We know that she's been silenced, and we have been screaming about, oh, how people are silenced, how people are being censored, and we don't stand for that, especially in literature. We don't stand for censorship. We're just like, nah, we're gonna fight against it, because you cannot just keep us quiet. We're going to actually move. So if we say that, if that's what we say we stand for, let's actually do it. Because guys, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a very real example of how the powerful maintain control, not with bans, even though they're still doing that, not with censorship in the traditional sense, even though they're still doing that, but with contracts, lawyers, pressure, quiet. Keep quiet is what they're saying. The book exists, guys. The book exists, but the voice behind it, they did their best to erase. So what do? We talk about it, guys. We talk about it. We read the book and we tell others, and we make others read the book as well, and not just that, we call it what it is: weaponized silence. Okay? And we remember that even if Meta tried to suppress the person, they can't suppress the truth, because the book exists. It's out there. They couldn't suppress it because it is the truth. So honestly, if you've been waiting to pick up Careless People like me, do it. Because obviously I am incapacitated, so I can't pick up any book. But if you are not incapacitated, go and find that book, pick it up, read it, talk about it, share it with friends, family, co-workers, definitely. And if you've never heard of it until now, share this video, because a story someone tried to hide is often the one people need to hear the most. So definitely, yeah, share this video, and I hope more people read the book and know what Meta was up to. I definitely cannot wait to find out. Yeah, come on guys, make sure we read, we share, and we don't let that book disappear. And that is it for me. Okay, so as always guys, sound off below in the comments. Had you heard of the book before? Have you heard about the situation? And honestly, are you surprised that Meta tried to silence it, or are we all just kind of numb to tech overlord behavior at this point, that we hear it and we're kind of just like, okay? And if you're, a fellow like lover of bookish commentary, things happening in the publishing world, or, you just like commentary with a side of righteous rage, you know what to do, like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, join the chaos every week, because we are back regardless of whether I can see or not. So yeah, until next time, remember, books are meant to be dangerous, they hold power. That's the point. And we will continue sharing about books and just about the bookish world here on this channel. And I can't wait to do that with you guys. But until next time, bye.